All right, so I've been kind of as I go through these, I look to see how to kind of approach these. I don't always have an idea going into it. Sometimes I sort of have to read it, figure it out on the fly, like I said. So, this one's all good. So I think I'm going to start at the beginning of it, the simple summary. This is new or new to us, or relevant anyway. So I think that's how we're going to approach this. Okay, we are back. I'm back. Um, all right. So this is going to be a fun romp through a lot of information on our animal friends, the cows. But they talk about other uh, good number of other animals. If you were here earlier, I scrolled down and you would have seen there a list of, all kinds of animals, cats, dogs, bunnies, rats, earthworms, snakes, you know, category of animal signatories, our elemental friends in the form of animals giving us a warning that something's coming up. All right, so, and I'm gonna try and speak as quietly as I can. It's now 12:30, and there's a good, probably another hour's worth of talking just on this one. I hope I'm not talking for an hour, but there's at least an hour's worth of material here. So what I want to point out though is CIEN, CIEN, right here. If you're not familiar with it, um, this is a network. They're talking about a network in the other video I just had just gone through about building a network, right? And so Italy has, I think it's 12 or 13 stations now. Cumiania is one of them. This guy here, Cristiano Fidani, he's one of our patron saints that I've done videos on where I've talked about his um, I think a lecture he gave, a monologue, a keynote speaker somewhere. I think he gave a paper on his part in the atmospheric detection, uh, whatever he's doing. Right? Uh, Cristiano Fidani is a name that it's familiar. All right. And so it's through this, the Central Italy Electromagnetic Network, that I've been acquainted with his work. And of course, we know Friedman Frund, and here's Rachel Grant, who's from Department of Six. Here's Department of Life Services, Anglia Ruskin University in Cambridge. All right. So Cambridge has a well-known university, and this is the that part of the sub university. All right, so uh, let's get into the material. Simple summary. Recent reports from several countries, such as China, Italy, and Japan, support the existence of strange animal behavior before strong earthquakes. However, the stimuli to which animals are sensitive preceding seismic activity are still not completely understood. Here we report the case of a herd of cows, reported by an entire village leaving the hill pasture and descending near to the village streets 2 days before a strong earthquake. Right? So 2 days before an earthquake, the cows came down out of the hills and they paid attention. Okay, the abstract. September, October 97 seismic sequence in the Umbria Marche regions of central Italy has been one of the stronger seismic events to occur in Italy over the last 30 years, with a maximum magnitude of 6.1. Over the last 3 years, a collection of evidence was carried out regarding non-seismic phenomena by interviewing local residents using a questionnaire. Okay, they're doing it the scientific way. One particular observation of anomalous animal behavior confirmed by many witnesses concerned a herd of cows which descended from a mountain close to the streets of a village near the epicenter a few days before the main shock. Testimonies were collected using a specific questionnaire, including data on earthquake lights, spring variations, human diseases, and irregular animal behavior. The questionnaire was compiled after the L'Aquila earthquake in 2009, and it was based upon. Oh, there we go. Okay, just adjusting myself. Thank you for being here. I just want you to know that. I appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you for sticking to this point. Thank you for getting here with me. Thank you for hanging out. For some of you I know have been here from the beginning, and you just hang out for the hours and hours that I run these things because you got time and the ability, and you love me. Thank you, and I love you too. All right. Uh, so the questionnaire was compiled after the L'Aquila earthquake in 2009 and was based upon past historical earthquake observations. A possible explanation for the cow's behavior: local air ionization caused by stress-activated positive holes is discussed. We've talked about that very thing: P holes, positive holes, the peroxy bonds, the O2. We've already discussed the work of Friedman Freund, but you see the keynote speaker here. The first guy given is Cristiano Fedani, and he's the correspondence guy. So he's the lead guy. So he's supporting, first and foremost, this theory, even though we know a lot of it from, Friedman Freund. Like, here's another professional who says, hey, there's something to be said in this theory of the positive holes, the ionic bonds breaking, the O2, the oxygen, electrons releasing, and that creating, the ionization, as I've talked about. I gave you the illustration of the air ionization, that there, the p holes there. Okay, and keywords here. We had a bunch in the other article. Animal behavior, earthquakes, positive holes, air ionization, cows. Uh, Great keywords. I love them. Okay, you ready? I'm I'm here. I'm ready. It's 2 hours, 41 minutes into this. I'm not sure if I'm going to edit this. I need to say this just kind of as a side note for those of you who are content creators yourself and who work with video and maybe Final Cut Pro or Final Cut or variant thereof, or if you use Adobe Premiere or whatever. But those of you who do the video, you kind of know this. But for those who don't know, I've talked about this before, that the last, this is a tech time with Verde. The video I made yesterday, or finished yesterday, and I actually recorded it and edited it and posted it in the same day, and also made a little short of it within the same 24-hour period, which is unusual for me. Usually it takes me a little bit. Um, the deep dive guy also means I'm also doing other stuff, and I don't get to this for a few days and whatever. So in this particular case, the last one I just did, the original finished version the capture with the OBS software was 1 hour 42 minutes, I believe, and 37 seconds or something. So there was a number of spots in there where I wanted to take out a few seconds here, 2 seconds there, the ums, the uhs, the pauses, and I get a nice tight presentation. And I really like doing those, that it just moves through and there's not pauses and everything moves through, and it's just really nice and tight as a composition. I really enjoy that. So I bring it into Premiere, Adobe Premiere, uh, and it's easy enough to take that out. It takes time, but for the hour and 42 that I wound up being, to get it down 10 minutes, basically an hour and 32 minutes, it took me twice to three times that length. So it took me like 3 hours to get 10 minutes worth of video removed. Well, silent and, gutter, Drek, you know. So that took me 3 hours to get the 10 minutes, nail out that 10 minutes of the finished product. But it's 1 hour and 32 minutes. Now, you figure it's a smaller end product to, once it's done, and, it's a smaller video or shorter video, so it should be. That's what you would think. It's a shorter video, so it should be roughly the same size as the original capture I did, which was 750 megs, right? So three-quarters of a gig, 1 gig, and which is a decent size for video. It's almost 2 hours worth of video. That's a good ratio, 750 megs. Like, yeah. So to get that 10 minutes out, a couple seconds at a time, 3 hours later, ready to export it, right? Which means that it renders it as a completed video, as my MPEG-4. I'm allowed some options. And so the finished option of what you want to do is match the source as closely as you can to get it. I'm not looking to add anything. I'm looking to get exactly what was there, just without the pops and the clicks, as it were. The more sanitized version of what was already there. So I keep the settings as close to the original. Now you got a lot of options. You can do a lot of different exports, different types of format. You can do just the audio, just the video, moving GIF, all kinds of stuff. Just any number of things. Wave, not only audio but also the video. You can export it as, and so the MPEG. It's an MPEG-4, which is the type of. It's a moving streaming format, and I want to keep it as close to the original as it is. So the original capture is an MPEG-4. It's a very, very nimble, very fleet, lightweight end product because there's not much rendering going in it. It's just a caption, motion capture. It's just an easy process. Whereas the other one, Adobe makes a movie out of it, actually composes and renders it into a movie. And so you now have, you've actually, it's what they call rendering it. You've taken the timeline. When you build everything, you assemble it on a timeline. You cut it up, you do transitions, you do the overlays. And so the end product, the assembly of it, the timeline, the workspace, the assembly of it creates the movie, right? So with all the different formats that I can use, the lightest weight is, or the most nimble, the lightest weight, the lightest footprint or overhead to the picture is the one that's most like the original, which is 750 megs. So in all the options of the matching the source, you have a number of different bit rates, and that is how quickly things can stream. And the higher the bit rate, the faster you can stream it, and the more, it just is a higher quality product. So the lower the bit rate, they do that to lower, they take some information as gets kind of left out, or it's approximated, or I don't know how to explain it better than that, but it's not as high of a quality end product because there's some shortcuts. They've cut some corners. They've abbreviated something there. It's not all of the original information based on the streaming rate, how fast it moves as a it's hard to explain a streaming format to people who don't know technical stuff, but like an MPEG is a streaming format that allows you to start it and play as you go, right? That's what a streaming is that you don't have to download the entire movie or song or a picture even. There's JPEG. That's a streaming. It's a still, but it's a same type of same type of thing that it'll download part of it, and you can see part of it, and it'll finish downloading it later. Like that's a common thing. JPEG, MPEG, MPEG 4, 3, MPEG 3, all of these MP3s. These are all streaming format that allows you to start it, and then it'll download it as you go, right? And that's a very big technological advancement in doing this type of stuff as a streaming format. So the MPEG 4, which is where we're at with this, the most at this point, right at this moment, the MPEG 4 is the most widely used, advanced of the streaming formats. That's the least footprint, right? I think that's the best way to put it. It's the most elegant, most streamlined, for common use, for everyday use. So the MPEG 4, which is Motion Pictures Joint Experts Group Layer 4, right? There's layer 3, MP3, there's layer 4, right? So it's the advancement of the technology into an MP4. So that streaming format, you get 5 options, right? Match source, high bit rate, and then a medium bit rate, and then you have adaptive bit rate. And so what started as and all the options, the best one is the match source with the medium bit rate. It's not adaptive, it's just the medium bit rate. All right. So it happens to be the second or the third from the top, right? So everything else, I just match the source, right? I don't need to, I just go click match source and just wherever possible. So the end product, the end size of the video, the 1 hour, 32-minute video on the modes as my working example, right? To get it nice and tight, to take those 10 minutes out, or 10, 11 minutes, whatever it was, to take that out, it took a movie, an MP4 that was 750 megs, and the final product, the lightest weight, the least size possible out of all of the options, was 2 gigs, 2.11 gig size file. So what happens is when you compile the movie, if I only had a couple edits that I took out, that finished movie would not be nearly that big. But there's easily 100 plus seconds that I took out of, 2 seconds here, 2 seconds there, 1 second, I scoot things in. So it took 3 hours to get the 10 minutes out. And it was literally triple the size, almost triple the size of the original to get the 10 minutes out, right? So that's a fun tech update, tech story from me. That's the punchline of it. That's the end of the story. If I haven't put you to sleep, that's, the nuts and bolts of it, right? To get that 10 minutes out, which is a nice, I'm fine with that. There's just a trade-off. And so the trade-off was it took 3 hours of my time over in addition to everything else, 3 hours, or more, I think. It was 3 plus. And then there was also the size of the file. And so once I have the finished movie, I delete the original. I don't need that hanging around, taking up space. Even though the other one's 3 times as big, it's like that's it's the cost of it, and it takes that much space. There's anything wrong with, that's part of the thing of the program that once you cut it that times, it's got to make another, it's got to write a program in there that says we've deleted this space here. So all of everything that you took out is still kind of there floating around, right? It's you've stitched it from here to here. And in a couple cases, uh, you'll have like a section here, a little bit, take it out, little tiny bit, take it out, little tiny bit. There will be like 5 or 10 successive little tiny sections that I take out. I could leave them in, right? And then it won't be so big of a file, but it's like, no, I want a nice, tight, compact video. And so that's what happens. The end product is it's a huge file. Relative to video, 2 gigs isn't that big. 2 gigabytes, 2 billion bytes. A gig is a billion. A meg is a million. 2 billion bytes. But like I got close to terabyte of worth of drive that I can put stuff on, but it's like 2 gigs here and there, and then it's like, wow, that's actually a pretty sizable file considering the original was a third of the size. All right, so on that cheery note, let me just play the rest of the the Aaron mix here, and then then I'll start the reading. Why not? You guys deserve it.
Coffee, yeah. something I hope in country Ghana. I be the one with the duro. Okay, oh yeah now. My baby say, my for go let something I hope in country Ghana. I be the one with the duro. Okay, oh yeah now. My baby say, my for go let something I hope in country Ghana. I be the one with the duro. Okay, oh yeah now. My baby say, my for go let something I hope in country Ghana. I be the one with the duro. Okay, oh yeah now. Look to go, Yanko, Yanko. If you any fear, why? I ask every to Quanga. Make I me mamma got the one. Make I me papa the video. Put it in the sabaro. Oh, my social grabber. What you got to say to me? Something I hope in country Ghana. I be the one with the duro. Okay, oh yeah now. My baby say, my for go let something I hope in country Ghana. I be the one with the duro. Okay, oh yeah now. My baby say, my for go let something I hope in country Ghana. I be the one with the duro. Okay, oh yeah now. Look to go. My baby say, my for go let something I hope in country Ghana. I be the one with the duro. Okay, oh yeah now. My baby say, my for go let something I hope in country Ghana. I be the one with the duro. Okay, oh yeah now. Look to go, Yanko, Yanko. If you any fear, why? I ask every to Quanga. Make I me mamma got the one. Make I me papa the video. Put it in the sabaro. Oh, my social grabber. What you got to say to me? Minyano masantro fibia. Makana brafo. Kari bio. Kari bio. Take me to my motherland, Africa. Take me to my motherland, Ghana. On a bifio. Manchia pesia bi wafie bi mo midingo. Enti masako fie. Papiri jame, edi matem. Enti masako fie. Mamiri jame ya wumi kating kwambio. Enti masako fie. Manchia pesia bi wafie bi mo midingo. Enti masako fie. Mamiri jame, ya wumi kating kwam. Enti masako fie. Papiri jame ya wumi asitore biengo. Enti masako fie.
Ago, me and my people, this the way. We say we dey travel go Bombay. See say the living no dey be for here.
Wait till you say the living no dey be for here.
My party talk, it no be what you go talk. I go listen.
Poverty,
yo, that be the reason.
reason.
Road be ragged, life be crooked. Oyakpa, where my tomato day?
Na me I dey go, my body. I no go dey there
Oh yeah
for
now,
good.
but fair money jema kunse ni maba. Shia di shia, oh no, Gio no. Yes, I go come back, take my money, of course, bless my country, Ghana.
Tia pesia bi wafie bi mo midingo. Enti masako fie. Papiri jame, edi matem. Enti masako fie. Mamiri jame ya wumi kating kwambio. Enti masako fie. Batia pesia bi wafie bi mo midingo. Enti masako fie. Mamiri jame, ya wumi kating kwam. Enti masako fie. Papiri jame ya wumi asitore biengo. Enti masako fie.
Hila, mama. Hila, papa. Miga vona mia bio. Miga vona mia no bio. Miga vona mia bio. Hey. Paga. Manya mia chichi onya pa masomo. Mapinyo.
Back enough anyway. Oh, please. Alrighty, onward and upward. I have some cup of noodles heating up in my coffee pot without coffee in it. I didn't run it through the strainer, so it should be alright. You know, it's glass. You know, hopefully it'll clean out. If not, it'll be some spicy coffee for a while. Whatever. You know, I'm I'm technically I'm camping. I'm like living roughing. I'm in a van. I'm supposed to be living, you know, like economically. And the crock pot is actually in the van. So, you know, whatever. I gotta do a video on the van, the update for y'all. Rather than just a couple pictures, do some video of it. It's got to go to the shop. It's not starting. I killed it. It's cold out. It's really cold out. So, 26. Oh, the temperature's rising. It was 20 earlier. I'm not sure if it's going to snow tomorrow. It's seeming to be snow weather. Anyway, all right. So let's get onward and upward with the material. All right. So introduction. Unusual animal behavior prior to earthquakes has been observed for millennia, but until recently there appeared to be no plausible explanation. Rund, reference to, presented a unified theory of non-seismic earthquake precursors proposed on the basis of stress-activated positive whole charge carriers. Right? We talked about this. We know we're up on our stuff. If you've been paying attention, you know exactly what we're talking about here. It is likely that at least some of the observations of unusual pre-earthquake animal behavior can be traced back to this underlying geophysical process. Other possible causes are the release of gases, such as CO, carbon monoxide, from the future epicenter, charged aerosol production, sound and vibrations, electric and magnetic field influences, ultra-low and extra-low frequency electromagnetic effects. All right, and they give you all reference numbers there. So that's a bunch of different parameters that they're putting into the ring for your consideration, for you know, our research consideration of what could be possible causes for the animals that they would be sensing, what changes that are happening that they would be sensing that would cause them to react to the impending, you know, seismic activities. It should be remembered, back to the material, it should be remembered that species typical behaviors can be triggered by a variety of stimuli, not necessarily related to earthquakes. Right? So stampeding an animal, a group of animals, a herd stampeding, wouldn't necessarily be related to earthquake, for example. That's what they're saying. And sometimes, where are we? Animal behavior anomalies reported by the public may actually not be abnormal behavior. Okay, often much of the behavior resembles that reported before other geophysical events, such as thunderstorms or volcanic eruptions. Animal behavior is very variable even within the same species. Finally, as there are geophysical differences between earthquakes, unusual animal behavior is observed before some earthquakes, but not others. Okay, all good things to keep in mind, caveats. All right. With this in mind, in this communication, we present several incidences of unusual behavior of cattle and also describe a previously unpublished observation of unusual cow behavior prior to the Umbria Marche earthquake, magnitude 6.1 of September 26, 1997. An evaluation in terms of the theory of positive holes leading to air ionization, as proposed by Freund et al., at reference 16, was applied to the Calfiorito tectonic structure in central Italy where the strong earthquake struck. Let's see, deftly, the Calfiorito area is a closed extensional basis system located in the Apennine watershed and surrounded by valleys that are deeply incised into the Mesozoic, Cenozoic bedrock. Figure 1, and they give you a nice little picture of that below. The basin floor is at an elevation of 800 meters, whereas the level of river incision in nearby valleys rapidly decreases to 400 meters within a few kilometers of the basin. Lacustrine and alluvial deposits containing remains of lower Pleistocene mammal fauna are exposed for 100 meters in thickness in the central and southern parts of the basin. Surface geology data and seismic reflection profiles have clearly pointed out that the area of Calfiorito is structurally dominated by north to south and north northwest to south southeast trending macroanticlines. Calfiorito Plain is bounded to the northeast by an active normal fault system that ruptured during the 1997 Umbria Marche earthquake sequence. Despite the different interpretations given to the surface ruptures observed after the main shocks, the fault geometry revealed by seismology, geodetic, and field data is consistent with the lower term quaternary evolution of the area. In particular, radar interferometry and GPS data showed several tens of centimeters of seismic subsidence in the hanging wall of the fault system bounding the basin, and surface ruptures of a few centimeters in amplitude were found after the earthquake along previously mapped fault scarps at the foot of mountain fronts bounding the Quaternary Basin. The seismic sequence that affected the Umbria Marche region, central Italy, in the period September 1997 to April 1998 caused the loss of 12 lives and severe damage to approximately 300 localities. Three main events took place in less than 10 kilometers depth. Two on Saturday the 26th, 97, with a magnitude 7.8 and 6.1, and one on October 14th, 2007, with the magnitude of 5.6, indicated by red circles in figure 1. All right, so, nice, all right. So they're giving you a diagram here, all right? Now read to what it says. Calfiorito Basin. The red arrows and the left-hand box indicate cow movements, where red circles indicate the stronger shocks and blue circles indicate meteorological stations at Saravale and Gelagnia Alta. Okay, PA del Sasso and Bagnara. The Nocera Umbra station is outside of the map to the west near Bagnara. A section of the basin in the left-hand box is shown in red. It is represented in the right-hand box with the positions of the main shock and aftershock along the normal fault plane in red. Mount Maggio is behind Mount Prefoglio, okay, after Marche. All right, so we got some geometry lesson here, and you can't really tell what, they're giving you types types of soil and types of rock and all this stuff in this. All right, so they're giving you a profile of what had moved, and this is where it is. All right, so I have another 4 minutes left of the Aaron mix. I'm going to play that, and then I'll let you look at that, knowing what I just read. All right, so I'll let you look at it. I need to get my soup, so hold please.
Accra, go, what is Salaga, Bombata, Akachi, Mando, what is Dashingwa, Madina, Mambo Big Nima, what is Ghana, oh, sweet, Seshi, Obuasi, Tapa, Wale.
Oh, don't try, baby, who don't try? Oh, don't try, baby, who don't try? Oh, don't try, lady, who don't try? Oh, Ban City,
Oh, the achitcher me.
hey, Ban City,
Oh, the arrington me.
Ban City,
Oh, the achitcher me.
Ban City,
Oh, the arrington me.
Asamaji,
Oh, the achantum me. Oh, the achitcher me.
Asamaji,
Oh, the achitcher me. Oh, the arrington me.
Adia Pamia and Sushinya order fair. That's really true. Adia Pamia and Sushinya order fair. It was so correct. Nina and Sarani. It was so correct. Nina and Sarani.
I really want to tell you, girl.
Anna, Mina Wakua. Midday. Minya wakua, hanging me, oh don't buy me,
I really want to tell you, girl.
hanging me, oh don't buy me, hanging me. Uko sachra kroma, hanging me, uko sachra kroma, hanging me. Adamani pa Jimmy, 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 Adamani pa Jimmy.
Oh, my commandant wife, why wanna come destroy my life? Oh, my commandant wife, why wanna come destroy my
really wanna
life?
tell you, girl.
Every day is fighting and forcing, every day is forcing and fighting. Every day is fighting and forcing, every day is forcing and fighting. Them ya gone,
Fly away,
them ya gone,
run away,
them ya gone,
fly away,
them ya gone. Oh, my commandant wife, why wanna come destroy my life? Oh, my commandant wife, why wanna come destroy my life? Chant to them, bro. We're not for stay again.
That really actually is a good mix, especially the last song there. Like, wow, holy crap. I'm sure you enjoyed it, but I hope you enjoyed that because it really was actually very good. I haven't heard all of it. When I do the premiere, I'll be able to listen to all of it all the way through. It's a good, one of the really good intermixes, from Madagascar. I don't know what part, Benin, wherever the music's from. Aaron doesn't give a lot of details with his mixes, and a lot of times doesn't come with the music. Whatever. All right. Onward and upward. All right. The L'Aquilia earthquake has shown that the public is able to observe a large number of phenomena for which there were no available instruments at the time of the earthquake, or quake, including unusual animal behavior. The people of Lycilia clearly remembered their observations for many months, and in many cases they remembered observations from previous earthquakes. Hence, a collection of data was carried out relative to a strong earthquake which occurred some time before Lycilia, that of Colfiorito. Right? Testimonies of unusual behavior of wild and domestic animals were collected around Colfiorito Plain in connection with the September 1997 earthquake. The observations were collected in the months of September to October 2010 and August to September 2011, May, August, and October, November 2012, January and April 2013. People reported strange animal behavior which had occurred in September 1997, i.e., more than 13 years ago. It is possible that people's memories are inaccurate and data may be unreliable after such a long period of time. However, it is also remarkable that so many people independently remembered and commented on the particular observation presented here. A questionnaire was used to obtain, hold on, there we go, to obtain information on sightings of earthquake lights with a small section on animal behavior anomalies. The questionnaire was initially used to collect information relative to the Lycilia earthquake in 2009. The full text can be downloaded from supplementary material. Here, the section concerning animals is shown. Okay, so they have a nice list of questions that they ask. Did you observe strange behavior on the part of animals? If yes, please describe the places, times, and conditions. All right, so let me adjust. Like caramba. It's late. I'm gonna have to go to bed soon. It's almost 2. All right. All right. So these are a number of different criteria that they're asking about: sudden death or of domestic or stray animals, yelping of dogs, neighing of horses, unexplainable appearance of ants, abundant appearance of worms, unexplainable appearance of snakes or frogs, unexplainable appearance of mouse, unexplainable behavior of chicken, unexplainable behavior of fish, nervous behavior of farming livestock, sighting of rare animals, disappearance of birds, other strange animal behavior. Please describe. Other, please describe. Okay. The same questionnaire was used with the population of the regions of Umbria and Marche affected by the strong earthquake of Colfiorito in September 1997. Questionnaires were not distributed on paper to the population but carried out by face-to-face interviews, allowing as much information as possible to be collected. A total of 94 people were interviewed in the Umbria Marche region. All right. So, there's a lot here. There's a lot here. All right. So, I'm going to all right. Oh God, I hate to wrap it up when I'm not quite done, but then I'm at 3 hours, 3.5 hours. I'm not going to be cutting this. All right, so let me just read a little more. The observations and the results. Yeah, I'm going to read about 7 more minutes, and then I think we'll end this. Observations and results. Cows. The observation on which we report here was made in Serravalle de Chianti, a village located a few kilometers northeast of the earthquake epicenter of September 26, 1997, magnitude 6.1. 19 out of 94 people were interviewed in Serravalle, and of these, 17 reported behavior which they considered anomalous, i.e., cows descending to near the village before the earthquake. The cows were grazing on top of Monte Maggio, located north of Serravalle, which is the village in a valley that separates it from Mount Prefolio. See figure 2. The cows are always let loose in the pastures every summer. They return to their barn when the snow comes, usually at the end of November or beginning of December. The villagers know that the cows normally stay in the pasture area and do not leave it all summer. 2 days before the main shock, however, the herd of cows was sighted near to the village of Cerrevel del Chianti, to the clearings above the Highway 77 at 700 meters. About 60 cows, the entire herd, had descended from the mountain and into the town itself, which is a highly unusual behavior, although all cows seemed to be in good health. The cows were seen by all the inhabitants of the village a few days before the earthquake. The reports confirm that the cattle descended from the mountain and stood in the area above Highway 77 for 4 to 5 days, after which time the cattle went back up in the mountain. The interviewees who observed the cows were asked if this has ever occurred again since the earthquake. Some people reported seeing the cows descending from the mountain at other times, such as when there was a sudden change in weather, in particular the arrival of very bad weather or heavy snow. For this reason, weather data were analyzed to rule out unusual behavior as a cause for the cow movements. And so you see here, there's a little Google map of the Colorado Basin, and the red arrows indicate cow movement. All right. A systematic literature search was carried out using scientific databases, ISI Web of Knowledge, or Google Scholar, to find unusual behavior for free-ranging cattle. The search terms used were cow or cattle and unusual behavior, which brought up more than 1,000 documents, most of which were not relevant. Many of the observations of unusual behavior of cattle prior to earthquakes related to restrained animals in domestic situations, and the general reaction was panic and attempts to escape. I can understand that. Ditto. These were not included. 8 observations were found, which were summarized in Table 1. We also have included in this table the 26 September 97 Califano earthquake of magnitude 6.1, which was preceded by a strong foreshock of magnitude 5.8. All right.